This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Goren Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom. Welcome to another week. Good morning, man. GM to another hang session, and we're live. It's Tuesday morning. We predominantly go live on Tuesday mornings, and we will have some different episodes that are happening not on the normal timeline pretty soon, which will be fun. We're gonna have the mooch on soon, which is kind of funny and cool. We're gonna have but if you are an early stage company, go to the DGB website, or an investor or anyone in this space, you want to stay in touch, hit us up on the contact form on dgb.vc, because then you'll get into our newsletter and you'll find out when we have upcoming episodes, or just follow us everywhere.
Follow us on LinkedIn too. We may be throwing out some job postings up there soon.
Oh, job posting. That's true. Yeah. Follow us on LinkedIn. If you're in this space and you are looking to be full-time in this space, not like a F you to the man, I'm going to quit my day job and go all degen type of thing. Come work with us.
Come build shit.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of building shit, you were just going to post something on Twitter before we went live, talking about one of our companies, Lit Financial.
I was posting on LinkedIn. I was reposting a post of Lit Financial.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's Lit Financial?
Lit Financial is a mortgage company that is trying to change the mortgage industry. Hopefully with some cool backend stuff down the road.
Well, you know what?
Bringing back some of the personal experience of mortgages also, I think.
Yeah, so this is a cool thing about Rankin being on the team. He's got real estate background. David Blesnak and his family have a real estate background. And what's kind of neat, to take a step back into what we do for a living, is we meet entrepreneurs at the earliest stage, and we back them. And we essentially join as a co-founder or as an early participant in that company, and we're in it for the long haul. We're not like a Techstars or Y Combinator where it's 3-4 months, you're out the door, there's a demo day, and then we catch up once a year or whatever. We join for life, right? So it's part of why, we not joked, but have our branding with the parent directory ... thing, or I say family all the time and stuff like that, because we do consider this so long term. We're like family with our people. So something else that we do when we're crazy early is sometimes we're so early, we're putting together companies with these founders or with these people, or putting together ideas that we have. And we've actually, we try to do it in a complementary way. So you'll notice some of those companies we're going to be announcing right now, or if you look at our website and start digging in, there's a few prop tech companies that will play nicely with each other. One of those is Lit Financial, which is kind of a tech forward mortgage company. And you could read between the lines and see where some of that is going and where we think it might go. So it's really fun stuff. So that's just getting launched and announced. They're licensed now in many states and getting more licenses and stuff, so you can actually use them to get a mortgage. They're already writing mortgages.
And they're hiring people, and
they're hiring as well. Yep.
So it's pretty exciting, and it's cool to loop in new companies. So anybody else is interested in the real estate property tech, come talk to us. Great something.
It's fun because we have our superpowers, right? And we have the ways in which we help our companies, but putting together these sort of complementary deals and companies is one of those things we do. So we're looking for a couple more pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, and it's really awesome because we all have. So Blesnak has his family and is in real estate. I have a broker's license in real estate, even though I'm not using it. And we all have like this fascination and love for real estate, yet we're all in the blockchain. I came to the blockchain because of real estate and tokenization of virtual properties, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And so it's taking these blockchain ideas and then bringing them over to property tech to see what we can build, which is exciting. And then
I think it's really cool, and it's going to be fleeting because it's just like the buzzword of the moment. But the fact that RWAs are the buzzword of the moment, real world assets, there's a lot of stuff going on, which for me is exciting because so many people just see that buzzword. It's BS, but there's a lot of people who fly under the radar because what they're doing isn't very sexy, but it actually is really, really important. And we love those kind of deals, and so we've been doing a bunch.
Well, so and we're also more involved in other things, with other communities. So like we were just talking, I was joining one of the associations for real estate, and what's interesting is what we're seeing in a lot of these associations now. They used to have a very old regime, right? And the thing is the regime in some of these organizations are finally starting to turn over, and because of that, they're finally able to have young people come in now and be like, hey, we actually need a tech team. We need somebody to lead the vision on technology, because even though it's been overlooked for the last couple of decades, we know, the young people know in these industries that, hey, things need to change and for the better, right? And so, one, I think it's going to create a lot of velocity in business, and we're going to see business move faster and accelerated speed because of these newer and adaptations. So like I was actually there, and what was funny is I co-host a local crypto meetup group, and the guy sitting across the table had been in crypto, except for he was more on the development side. And what was interesting is during COVID, he said he was doing hospitality and working with hotels, and there was a couple hotels, and I have to go check these out sometime, that they had bought this hotel. They had basically created an NFT system for check-in, and
no way.
Yeah, and so there was no interaction, and so they were like the only hotel open during COVID because they did like a keyless system, and it was associated with a token, and there was like it unlocked and it you could keep track. And there was a pretty sophisticated. It sounded pretty fascinating as to what he was doing. I need to get more into depth on it. But like, that's really cool. He was talking about how he was incorporating some blockchain stuff in the back end on Polygon with his hotel, and then they sold the hotel off.
That's really rad. Yeah, I remember I talked to startups back in the day. Actually, like one of my first things in joining a VC fund, I almost did a deal with a company that was doing like text customer service and check-in and stuff like that for hotels. And this was, like 10 years ago or so. Yeah. And that was like, it was crazy idea at the time. Like, yeah, right. A hotel is going to text message their guests. Like it was such a funny thing. Right. And now that's just totally normal. Yeah. And it kind of seems nutty that a hotel doesn't just allow you to like use your phone to unlock the door and stuff like that. And check in virtually. Like it's weird that's not an option at every hotel.
Yeah. So it was exciting. Unfortunately, he had a Bored Ape. For him, he sold it at the top though.
Hey, congratulations.
So good for him. But it was interesting, and I was like, wow, like here I'm sitting across the table, and he never knew that we ran a meetup group and talked crypto, and I was like, cool, there's a really cool guy who's doing some crypto stuff, and he's
I think that's a big thing because lots of people like don't talk about it publicly. Like I talk about it publicly and things like this, but I never bring it up like at school functions for my kids or things. Like every once in a while somebody be like, what's that shirt? Is that a Bitcoin shirt? Like when I'm wearing like a Bored Ape shirt or something like that. And I go, oh yeah, it's a crypto thing. But like unless somebody asks me, I don't bring it up. And I think that's how most,
right?
Well, I don't do it because of the stigma. I just don't do it. Like, I don't know. I think I don't do it because everyone goes to, should I buy Dogecoin? Should I buy this thing? Oh yeah, man. I've been watching Bitcoin Cash since, whatever, or they'll like bring up some token that I don't even know anything about. And then they'll think that I'm a crazy person for not knowing more about, Gollum or something. I'm like, I actually, it's a cool idea, but like I don't know every single one of the multiple thousands of tokens, and so. And I don't want to tell people to buy or not, right? Like, because I don't know myself whether to buy or not when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not a trader, right? I invest in early stage companies, and I'm in it like super long term. And so I just don't want to have those conversations. I think.
Look we're both playing games.
Yeah.
I mean, they went pretty high at one point.
Yeah, we've held.
But we love it.
Yeah, well, there's other reasons, and if you make it your full-time job the way we have, I think you actually earn more in the educational process and in the learning. Now, we've also learned to buy more than one of things like that from this point on, and to maybe sell one or two along the way.
Yeah, I haven't done a good job at that. I haven't done a good job at that.
I haven't either. But the thing is, it's part of the whole thing. Like, how many companies do we talk to today that want to utilize similar types of smart contracts for real purposes like IP rights or legal contracts or different things like that, that Bored Apes, in a way, our knowledge of it has actually created a foundation of like, oh, this is possible. This is accurate,
I really didn't started diving into like IP and the whole like thought process of owning intellectual property until I discovered Bored Apes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because I think that most people thought of IP as a patent and that's it. And then in the tech world, there's actually kind of too many negative implications of patents and things because of patent trolls and different things like that. So, and being in crypto, you're kind of purposely anti that in a way, because what government agency do we trust to actually enforce that is the right decisions and things like that? And so because they've enabled more corruption than they have actual protecting entrepreneurs and stuff. So that's why crypto is awesome, right?
It's just that whole idea of circling around and the idea behind buying into something that's potentially a franchise, right?
Well, there's that, but there's also, let's say you're an artist and you create a song and you have a management company or a label that owns a portion of the rights to that song. Somehow, through creative accounting, most of those artists get screwed.
Yeah,
right? On chain, that's not going to be very possible, right? Because you'll be able to track.
It is though. They've already screwed the royalties on some of these platforms by stripping the royalties away. That's actually what killed NFTs. What really killed NFTs is the fact that some of these platforms, and I'm not going to name them, but basically they stripped off the royalties, and so when the creators were no longer earning, there's no reason for them to create it anymore.
Well, also no incentive to promote the sales of their stuff, and they learn they lose the passive income. So it's only about doing a big initial sale and trying to live off of that money versus having cash flow.
That's why I think the real reason why NFTs kind of died off.
It's a part of it, but it becomes it's a cycle, and it's super hypey, right? And so it's and too many people go and try to build something short term or I don't know if I think there's a lot of people that have the intention of building something huge, but it's very hard to see past the immediate moment. And then all of a sudden a person who's not an entrepreneur, who's never had to do it this way, goes, wait, we made a few $100,000, but we distributed that few $100,000 right into my pocket immediately. And now 6 months has passed and I'm not making any money. It's like, well, if you would have been responsible with it, you would have had 2 years of what you get paid in a normal job, but you got it all and you spent it all immediately because you weren't budgeting, you weren't thinking clearly. And that passive income that you thought would come forever was also just a flash in the pan, right? So in the startup world, I
was going to say, we've all seen the overnight success, right? But in reality, that takes about 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And most of those, exactly. And most of those groups, like in the startup world, Boost has a good, has a slogan in Boost VC. It's a startup accelerator up north, Adam Draper's and Brayton's accelerator. And it's awesome. And they have like a saying in their accelerator that's called "Be the Cockroach." And the reason they say that is because, like, you know, a cockroach could live through like a nuclear winter or whatever. But the whole point, right, is that if you have to, you know, slim down to 2-3 people, stay alive, just stay alive and live through to the next cycle. That's like a huge part of building a successful company. People don't realize, right, like how much hard work and how, you know, little CEOs might get paid, right? Like it's totally normal for the most successful companies in the world to be run by people who had to live off of nothing for a long time. People just assume, oh, I raised $2 billion for my company. That means I could take a market rate paycheck and I can do this or even above market because I'm the CEO and I whatever. And I've never had a CEO title, but I looked online and CEOs make a lot of money because I looked at Glassdoor or whatever. And it's not how it works, right? Like Amazon, you look at Bezos, like one of the richest people in the whole freaking world, right? There was a thing for at Amazon, and it was like they were militant about it. I worked at Amazon for a while, and everybody there works on a door desk. Do you know what a door desk is?
No.
It's literally they have a certain company in Seattle that is like a building supply company, and they send desks. They send the doors. I don't know if this is still a thing at Amazon, but it was when I was there. They literally, like when they open a new office, they send doors to the office, cut 4x4s and like get just building joists kind of things and make a simple desk for each employee. And that comes from when Amazon was first started and they worked out of Jeff Bezos's house. They ran out of desks.
So they
didn't have money. They took doors off of the hinges. They made them into desks. And that's what they used. That's the story, at least, right? And that's part of like the why Amazon, you're supposed to be super frugal, and that's a part of the company's like core whatever. And to this day, or at least up until 10 years ago when I worked there, when they opened a new office,
old doors too.
Well, what's funny is now because they use a certain supplier in Seattle and they like do a certain thing, there's probably compliance laws and things like that. They can't just take one off the wall because there'll be splinters or something. and you're not probably allowed to build it yourself because like, you know, my job title is not a carpenter, right? So, but I remember when they opened the office, the funny thing was that they had to wait for a shipment of doors from the Seattle place because they couldn't buy doors from a company out here. And it was like, they had to like ship them. And it probably was more expensive than just buying a cheap desk from like IKEA or something. But it's part of the culture, right? To tell this story and whatever. So, but everyone looks at Jeff Bezos and goes, oh my gosh, he's the richest person in the world. But they aren't willing to go, okay, I have to go for 2 years without taking a paycheck. Right.
Well,
or I have to not just 2 years without taking a paycheck. They don't realize like they might have to put money in personally, right? Like people aren't willing to make the sacrifice.
Or the guy who's getting paid $1 for his salary, right? And the rest of it's in shares. The problem is if the shares aren't liquid, you don't really have money, right? And so now you have to borrow against your assets, you know, to try to like have some cash flow to do the use. So.
I like it, Kevin. DoorDAO. Hey, one of our companies might help with that soon, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud. But it's just so think about that, right? Think about how much money was made by these companies, and then we're using the excuse of the passive income stopping it, which is true, but so many of these groups had enough ETH in the past to run for many, many years. But they haven't managed it right at all. Like it's the ICO world all over again. Cash management is what killed those companies. Companies like Chainlink could have very easily gone out of business after their ICOs in that cycle if they weren't good about treasury management. But they were good about it. And you know what's his name? The guy who started Chainlink. He could have put millions and millions of dollars into his own pocket and then considered the company out of business, but he didn't. And now look at where they are. You know, a million NFT projects could have done the same. Like Yuga is going through all sorts of crazy things and whatever. I have no idea what the founders took off the table, but they parlayed that into raising millions and millions of more dollars. And they're running an organization. Whether they're successful or not, we don't know yet. It's still too early. But a lot of groups that raised as much money or did as much money. Actually, I don't like using the term raised, because when you sell an NFT, you didn't raise money. You earned revenue. You made money. You sold a product, and you put all that money into the pockets of a few people, or you could have put it into running a long-term business. It's your choice, but that's the issue. And that's why, if you look at our portfolio, there aren't really any or many companies that have done something like that. The reason is because that's not a long-term sustainable model. Selling something one time for a few months is not necessarily a real business.
And so the problem is, and I think a lot of these game companies are going to figure that out in the space, that in order for your game to be successful, is you have to have more and more players come to your game. The problem is the moment you do that with any asset, that asset becomes inflationary then, and then the price and value of that asset completely falls.
Look at the best, one of the biggest game companies right now, right? Or even the two of the largest game companies, not the two largest, but two of the largest are like Roblox and Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
Both of those have in-game currencies. Those in-game currencies are not meant to go up in value, right? They're meant to be the in-game currency, right?
Yes.
And that's actually a good thing. Like if they went up and down in value, it might not have been as successful. But
that's because
are these game companies getting gamers to actually play their games, or are they getting degens to participate in some farming situation?
Right.
That's why they're not successful, because they've built shitty games. Like I want Sandbox and Decentraland to kick ass because I have a lot of fun playing with them. But there's not really much reason for anyone to come back. And if a developer to build a game has to buy a plot of land, we've already lost. Like, how could I convince my nephew to build a game in the Sandbox unless I give him my land and give him
unless people with land actually spend an effort to build something.
But why would they? They're not game developers. I'm not a game developer. I didn't buy the land as a game developer. I bought it for fun and maybe some speculation.
Your hope to attracting an audience, so hopefully because you're good at advertising. Like if you're Disney, you might build a Disney theme.
Imagine if I had the opportunity to build imagine if every single person who built in Roblox had to pay even $20 to start. There'd be no games on Roblox. Right? Like every single one of those people started off as some teenage kid, like the biggest, best games. These people earn millions of dollars a month. If you put $100 gate in front of them to get started, they would have never done it.
Never done it. Yeah.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
valid point.
You're not selling land in a metaverse before there is an ecosystem there is only a land grab situation, unless developers are allowed to build without owning land, right? And it should be. Like, I don't know how it's going to work with like the other side. They're going to launch their development kit soon.
Well, no,
if you have to buy land to build on it, it's going to be really hard to convince kids to do it unless there's already an ecosystem and money there.
I have an idea. Okay, what if Sandbox made it so that you could open up your piece of land so other people could build on it?
That'd be cool, right? Like think like how Superworld Rish lets people do. Anybody can go on Superworld and build stuff on any piece of land, right? And then if I own that land, I might get a cut of it. That's how it could potentially be, or something like that.
Yeah.
Essentially, though, somebody will open their land and be willing to give it for free or something, and then that's where everyone will build. But that'll be up to the person with the land. That would be cool, right? Or the thing is, tying it to specific land already gives constraints on the game, though, right? Because like a random Roblox game could need little to no land, and some might need tons and tons and tons and tons of land, right? Because of the specific game it is. Why should it be tied to land? Like the metaverse itself is maybe a game in that I own a piece of it and I do. Yeah, no, I like the idea, but we have to, like, where you have to find out where it makes sense. Like it made sense on a surface level. Ooh, there's a metaverse. There's a limited amount of land. I could buy one of those limited amount of lands. It's rare. It's special, just like regular land, and cool. But now, if
so there was some sites that
why
were
would someone come to my grocery store to buy something versus a different metaverse's grocery store? Like that's where there's no differentiation in a meaningful way. And the way that all of those metaverse VR games and things have brought people is by incentivizing smart young engineers to build their games on their platform. But if spending money is a prerequisite when it's free to build where people already are, then it's there's no incentives. They don't line up.
There's still a lot of land available. And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually, once it's all sold out, that you can lease land or rent land from people.
Yes, but again, I asked my nephew, I go, why don't you build in one of these places? And he goes, there's nobody there. Right? I don't think a lot of the better people, I don't know if they think Roblox is the best gaming platform. I would bet most of them don't think it's the best, because you ask any engineer, they never think that, the platform that they have to build on is the one that they wish they were building on. But like you can go spend millions of dollars, build on some other gaming platform, but now you have to have or even for free, but then you have to have a way to actually market that product to people. And how do you market people? Roblox, it's already kind of built in, right? Like the
part of it's
platform
educational process too. Part of its educational process is how easy is it to go out and learn, right? And so like my kids wanted to learn how to do Roblox. And the first thing I told my kids, I said, go watch some YouTube videos on how to build. And so they did. He went and watched YouTube videos, like, okay, I get it, and went over there and started building games. He's like 8 years old, 9 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
dude, I think I told you this. Like my kid was trying to do something in that world. I think it was Roblox, but then he was doing something else. And then one day, like over quarantine times or something, post-COVID or something, like I walked into the room and he was reading a tutorial in Stack Exchange on how to do something, and my brain was just like. I remember at the time I talked to Corey from Dolomite, and I was like, I just walked in the room. My son was reading Stack Exchange. He's like 10 years old. And Corey was like,
yes.
What? We were like both are like a mind blown, because he's like, who do we talk to on an everyday basis that would know even what that means? It has to be the more technical people, right? And it was just
awesome.
Holy shit. But that's the gateway, right? And it's just like, to me, I always use WordPress as the example, because it's not the best, it's not the cleanest. Some stuff is cool, some stuff is easy, some stuff is point and click, but some stuff you need to get you need help. But the thing about WordPress, the thing about Roblox is if you go, how do I award people in-game points for following me on Twitter? And I put Roblox, Google that right now. I'll find 2 or 3 tutorials where people explain how to do that. And then it's just following the steps. Over time, you follow enough of those steps, you start to learn and you start to customize it. You start to mess with it. And that's the whole thing. So I actually did that the other day. So Kevin was watching. He was goofing around. He's talking about the unsustainable stuff. So talk about Tezos. The reason I did that, I wanted to learn how to reward somebody in my game for connecting their Twitter account, was because I know how to send people NFTs and crypto through Tezos to their Twitter account. And so I was like, ooh, the next step in that is me running a script totally outside of the gaming ecosystem, giving every single person rewards on Tezos for playing my game on Roblox.
So unknowingly, Roblox, the first metaverse, and Roblox is going to be the first Tezos metaverse, huh?
There's a game called Pet Simulator on Roblox. That's one of the most popular games of all times. They did, over COVID times, they did an NFT drop for special pets that made a shit ton of money. and the community went nuts. The parents went nuts on them because their kids wanted money to buy NFTs, and it was pre Ethereum changing. It was mid crypto is the most horrible thing for the environment conversation, which I wonder where all these people went when it has to do with none of them have noticed that AI takes up way more processing power. But anyway, where are these people?
That's because AI is making
not that I think that they're right. I think they're idiots.
AI is making their life easier, so they don't want to complain about it as much.
Well, yeah, and crypto is being sold by the politicians that we generally like as some kind of evil thing, evil scheme that's coming for us. But anyway, the whole thing is that it's so easy for anyone to come and just start building, right?
Yeah.
All of these metaverses, think about Tezos as an example. It's not easy to build on Tezos as much as we want it to be, right? There are tutorials, there are things, there's programming languages that most people don't know. Same with Ethereum, same with Bitcoin. In fact, it's probably like the worst on Bitcoin in terms of like needing really niche specialized knowledge, right?
It's called C++.
Very, 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 very true. But that's the whole point. The ease of use and the fact that there are no hurdles in, but that's also, the big benefit. Like if somebody can harness that or build the next generation version of it, because no hurdles, right? So we need that's supposed to be the promise of crypto, but then people build platforms that create hurdles. Like, I cannot give a shit what anyone in the Tezos community says, and I can build whatever I want. I can go without their permission. They can say you're not allowed to do that. They could say it's against the law. They can say I think that's a bad idea for the Tezos community, but it doesn't matter. If I want to build something, I will build it, and none of them can stop me, right? Unless they do some kind of like governance vote to somehow stop some kind of feature, something from that. But that's the whole point of crypto. So it's really antithetical for people to build products that then go, hey, to participate, you have to pay.
Well, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to be curious, and it's probably not going to happen until like next year, right? Because I think the cycle is going to be slow to start. But the question is like, I'm looking at Sandbox right now, and I see like Hell's Kitchen in there. I see Ulta in there. Like there's some really big names.
I think they've done a great job in their marketing and in their bringing in people. Like, you go to the Snoop thing. We went on the Dogami thing live on the stream, and it was so much fun. It was really cool. I could see how it could work. So I think that they'll have to find a way. They're going to have to find a way. Because,
right? Like, how's Ulta going to use it, right? I can't wait to see how that gets implemented down the road.
Hey, I should give a little love. I'm using Tezos as an example because Kevin's here and because I love Tezos. But there are some products that make it really easy to build on Tezos. I've used them myself, and I should.
Should we have Kevin come up here and he can?
Kevin can come anytime. He's got an open invitation to crash this party whenever he wants. And you know what we're going to be doing? Kevin is working something called Blue Harbor that's going to make building that's basically going to help enterprises build on Tezos and in the Tezos ecosystem better. It's really cool. And he's always been doing that. He's the Tezos evangelist. He's a big reason why I participate in that community a lot. Some really interesting things happened. And we're going to talk a lot more about Etherlink. We might, I don't want to spoil any announcements or things that he might have, but you can expect us and Kevin to be talking a lot more about Etherlink.
Are you allowed to say what Etherlink is?
So Etherlink, here's a cool thing that actually made it more interesting to me. So we did a hang session with those people here. I should text Kevin the StreamYard link if he does want to pop in and correct me. Oh, I just seeing a text that he sent me earlier this morning from when I was on another call. But so if Kevin wants to pop in, Kevin, I texted you the link to the StreamYard. But Arthur, he's walking around NYC. Oh, congratulations to your brother for graduating. We'll give him love, and I'm going to talk about Etherlink for a moment. So, what's interesting that I think is really, really cool is people were telling us what made Etherlink different.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be, I'm super positive about the Tezos community, and I love a lot of the people in it, right? So I want to be bullish about Tezos, and I wanted to also showcase how easy it will be to build on Etherlink. That's why I asked everyone the same question, like, what's the difference between building on Polygon or building on Arbitrum and building on Etherlink? And most people pretty much said nothing. Like, the only difference is the RPC link. The RPC link is like what you use to connect to the network. It's just another EVM from that perspective. But the one thing that was going through my head, and I think that's gone through a lot of our heads, is like, what really actually makes this different from any other EVM? Like in any other layer 2, they're starting to all feel like the same. And I was trying to kind of figure it out. And something that Arthur Brightman, the founder of Tezos, posted yesterday or the day before, got me actually super excited about this. And from a differentiation standpoint, all of the other layer 2s that exist today, to my knowledge and to the basic understanding that I have, are slightly decentralized, but not really. Because there is a emergency group of people. There is a CEO of Polygon and whatever. And I don't know exactly the mechanism. It is multi-sig, safe, capable, stuff like that. But there are a few humans where if the government, the FBI, the Republic of China or something, put them in a room, could hand over the keys, right? And that makes it a custodial exchange, right? Mm-hmm. When it's something like Coinbase, we understand that and we take on that risk. When it's something like the other chains, is, to my knowledge, and somebody's going to have to correct me on this, and I would love for someone to come debate me and help me understand it fully. But essentially, Polygon is custodial because there is a few people who could be under attack and give.
Well, some would argue Ethereum might be too.
Some would argue Ethereum, and some would argue Bitcoin also. There's lots of arguments that people make. Ethereum more than Bitcoin. Well, we don't know is the thing with Bitcoin. We know the specific people in the Ethereum ecosystem. That's part of the problem, and part
Bitcoin
of
is the mining. Yeah. Who's controlling the hash on the mining? Right.
Exactly. And there's all these arguments, right? There's already arguments on the L1s that we think are sufficiently decentralized, or we hope are, right?
Yeah.
Now the argument with the layer 2s are that there's people that hold the keys. Whether they could be coerced or not, whether there's enough of them could get, attacked or subpoenaed or whatever, that's an issue. With Etherlink, right? It basically resolves to Tezos as a layer 1, and all of the keys and all of the custodial issues are totally managed by the governance process that Tezos has, and no other blockchain has had a successful governance process the way that Tezos does. None of them upgrade as quickly. None of them have done that, and that's a really cool thing. So technically, according to that post by Arthur, and we should have Arthur on. I'll message him so he can explain this. It's so what they think they're asking, or what I'm wanting to know is this the first non-custodial layer 2? Where you actually can trust, and this isn't like like a pie in the sky bullshit thing. I'm going, oh, Tezos, go and talk to people like Vitalik. There's people like what's his name, the dude who's the founder of Cardano. Like, all those people, when they give examples of governance being done right in the crypto world, they use Tezos as the example because it's the only one that's done this. The only group that actually has on-chain governance that makes updates. It's not like, a majority of the people have to pick.
So that way
Right? Like Ethereum, the majority of people have to say this fork is the correct fork, and we're all going to go there, right? And so that's the difference, and that's a cool thing. Also, I mean, it's just different. So that's the idea is that it has the benefits of EVM, so anyone can build on it. It resolves to Tezos, which is a huge plus in terms of decentralization and governance, and it's non-custodial in that the governance of Tezos has to run it. So do I pretty much called it, Kevin? Well, here's the thing, Kevin. I'm using his notes as part of the guide for what I'm saying, so I'm kind of cheating. But I've done the armchair quarterback degen research on Twitter to say this out loud. So somebody's got to come in, and I think we're discounting how awesome something like Polygon and Arbitrum really are. Like when I say it that way. But I don't think we can give enough praise to how awesome something like Tezos can be, because other than Bitcoin, I'm not sure there's anything that's reached that level of amazingness in terms of governance and quality of build in terms of product, right? And no MEV costs. So it'll be interesting. So I think we're gonna do a lot. We're gonna do something with Kevin. And we'll talk about it soon, but probably do some deep diving into Etherlink. And then Kevin texted me about it the other day, and my response was more like Ether stinks. Am I right? But that was just me being stupid.
I'm a fan of Ethereum because I've been using it for a long time, and I like the EVM aspect.
Oh, so you've been using that Bitcoin testnet for a while?
Yeah.
Sorry. A lot of our friends are using that as the their meme for.
And it's going to be a second layer to Bitcoin. It's going to be a second layer to Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, when can we copy the Etherlink model? And I mean, essentially, is that what people like Stacks say they're building?
There's some people who are building various.
You know what though? All of the Bitcoin DeFi things I'm seeing so far have been on EVM chains, right? So they want, like, a lot of folks go,
they hate Ethereum. They like the EVM.
Ethereum is the test net, but we're building Bitcoin DeFi on EVM compatible chains.
It's all right. I still think
I just don't love, like, can't you love two things? Like it's such a weird we are looking at a browser right now. I'm looking at my laptop. I could be signed on from my phone. Both different operating systems. Both would run on a Chromium browser that's using JavaScript, HTML5, and different things. On my phone, the app might be different and use a different programming language with different hardware and different everything, right? Like, can we not understand that there is a world where there can be multiple programming languages and protocols and they could work together, and we could go, you know what? I think that, this is good for this use case. You know what? If you're building a piece of enterprise software, you use Tezos for your blockchain. If you're building something that's a public this and that and whatever, you might use some other thing or use Tezos also.
I need to address Kevin's question.
Okay.
It says, have you tried using Stacks? My answer is no. I was taught I was taught to hodl my Bitcoin, so I refuse to use my Bitcoin. And I don't know if that's a good thing for Bitcoin.
So I don't like
using. I wouldn't mind using Bitcoin Cash. I wouldn't mind using Bitcoin Cash. It's a little bit more stable, and it's faster and cheaper.
They, I would say I've played on Stacks. It was more rough than it was. It was more rough than it is now 6 months ago. And it was more rough than that 6 months before that. I think the product is getting significantly better, to be fair to them. I've bought some NFTs on Stacks. I own Alon.btc, the name, on Stacks and Bitcoin.
You have to use Bitcoin for that?
No, I bought Stacks, but you could use Bitcoin in certain ways on there, and I've avoided it in every way. And when I have, I've not taken any of my Bitcoin and ever used it for anything, including runes or things like that. I've taken Ethereum or random other things that I've had and swapped it for Bitcoin to use in those situations because it's sacrilegious to me. And that's actually, that's a reason why I never participated, or I didn't participate in the early days of ordinals and things like that. It's still early days, but like in those, frogs and whatever the hell people
We've heard too many stories of people buying pizzas.
Yeah. Why would you waste your Bitcoin? It's nuts. And what I'll say is, I want to give Stacks. I don't want to rip Stacks because I was really disappointed in some of the things, but the things I was frustrated with had less to do with Stacks and had more to do with Bitcoin, like the unpredictable block times and things like that. But Stacks has fixed that on their side and made it more usable. Just like, the early days of when I participated on Tezos, transactions would fail and some issues. Actually, not as much. There wasn't as much on the front end for Tezos, and maybe that was the issue more than the back end. To be fair, Tezos has always ran better than any other chain I've probably ever played with, to be fair. But I don't want to rip Stacks apart because they're an early technology and they've built some cool shit. And they called the people building layers over Bitcoin way before anybody else and understood where that was going. So they're smart. But I've had problems, transactions fail, waiting, thinking something's going to take 15 minutes, but then having to wait an hour or two, things like that were happening all the time.
Well, it's interesting because, and I guess, never mind. I guess the whole purpose of the idea was that people would continue running their own nodes. But I don't know. I recently finished reading Roger Ver's book, Hijacking Bitcoin, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Was it interesting? Was it good?
Yeah, no, I think there's some good history in there about Bitcoin.
Do you have, I don't really have much of an opinion because I don't know the guy or the situation or whatever. Yeah. I thought of the dude in early days of the types of stuff he was posting about why Bitcoin as a kind of a hero, right? Like it's not that, maybe that's too much, but seemed like he was in it for the right reasons and super passionate and obsessed with the freedom aspect, right? And then people turned him into a villain because he made a fork of Bitcoin.
All because of the block wars. It was all because of the block wars.
And do you have an opinion, like a strong opinion of him as because some people are like, oh my God, he's evil because, Bitcoin Cash sucks, right? And I've not liked Bitcoin Cash for the reason that
it comes to confusing. It comes to this. If you were a libertarian and you were in Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as currency, your vision wasn't for institutions to come in and adopt it.
No, you would be vehemently against it. And that's my biggest problem with Maxis, because them celebrating BlackRock participaing should make them throw up. Yeah.
Well, and so by keeping the block size small, you can create more control. Now the institutions can come in and adopt it, and as long as the number goes up, they're happy, right? But I mean, look at Bitcoin Cash. It's sitting at like $400. It's not going anywhere, and it sits there.
But what does that matter? If you care about freedom, you shouldn't give a shit about that either.
Exactly. But the point is it doesn't have institutions jumping into it.
Yeah,
and therefore there's not all this hype and advertising for it, and so it sits there. But
I respect a person who will fall on their own sword for freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to respect a person that says the freedom part out loud, but really obviously their actions.
I say have both.
But if you're honest about it, right? Yeah. Like I go back and forth all the time because a part of me is like why do we care? We should care. There's plenty of room for Bitcoin to be an insanely valuable asset without being hijacked by the controlling class or whatever, but it's not going to happen. Like, it's not that it's not going to happen. It's very unlikely to happen because at a certain point it reaches a certain amount of value and then there you go. Right. And so on one hand, you should celebrate, hey, we've made enough noise to do that. But have we made enough noise to actually create any freedom, to actually take power away from the people in power. And if your original goal was to have government free money, you should not be celebrating any of these things. You should be creating roadblocks and making it harder for institutions to adopt, right? Like it. So a part of me, anyway, I don't know. We got because of Roger Ver being
there we go.
His.
So, I don't know.
His thing.
That's a cool.
What's that? You shared a link?
Yeah, show that or bring that. Can we share that?
Are you? Is that the is that the
really
one
cool
where it shows the block explorer thing? Oh, okay. TX City. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's that's so funny. They open sourced it. So I'll try to share that tab in 1 second. Launch.
That'll be great.
So they open sourced this. So I was actually going to change this thing to let's see, share screen. So this is fun. So why don't you tell people what they're seeing here, and I can also can I make this
one on the right? Is that correct though? No, that looks like Ethereum on the right.
It's Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I have both up. Oh, you were doing Bitcoin Cash. I didn't realize. BT. Okay, so what was the URL? BCH.
BCH-BTC. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
And the BCH will be on the left. And this is funny if you zoom out. Like this is almost hilarious.
Can I zoom out? Let's see.
Yeah, no, you got it. So you got BCH on the left, perfectly empty. See the Bitcoin on the right? Now scroll down and look at all the small transactions waiting to get in.
Oh, the people who low feed Bitcoin. It's just forever. You know what's funny?
You wouldn't have that problem with cash.
Yeah. There's a nice long line of people waiting to get in.
And look at all the room on Bitcoin Cash over here.
Hey, you know what this feels like?
Disneyland.
Feels like
Disneyland.
No, if Disneyland had a line for poor people to wait in if the fees go below a certain size. Right? This feels like elitism to me, right? Yeah. Like this doesn't feel like the promise of freedom. This feels like rich people can do whatever they want. Poor people have to get in the back of the line. That's fucked up. Yeah, South Park. It's so Chad, I saw this actually just a few weeks ago. I realized that they open sourced this project, and I was going to go in and change all the characters to be some other characters and change the graphics and launch my own version. But then I realized it was just so much freaking work. I gave up on the idea because I just thought it'd be funny.
Then you got like one little person using Bitcoin Cash.
There's a lot more to it, Kevin. Kevin is saying that he did a lot of things, like he was advisor at a bunch of companies. He bought Bitcoin.com and made it all about Bitcoin Cash. Just he did some things that he pissed people off.
That the crowd doesn't like. People don't like him for.
Yeah. So, but that's funny. I kind of forgot about that. By the way, I did a transaction when the Rune things launched, and I made a token that was called like Alon effing rules or something like that. Yeah. And I didn't realize, I don't think I did it on purpose. I didn't purposely put a low fee. I think that fees were just pumping up. This was like the minute it launched or whatever. And I just ran a transaction, and then it was too low a fee. I assumed the transaction broke. Like the next day I'm looking, I'm like, oh, those tokens don't exist. Like I may be like 1 billion tokens or 1 trillion tokens. And I pre-mined all of them into my own wallet. I was goofing around, just testing. And I just thought it didn't work. And then like 2 weeks later, I open up and it could have been a week later, but I stopped opening it every day and looking at it every 3 minutes. Like 2-3 weeks later, I opened up my the wallet. And I had like 1 billion of these Alon effing rules tokens in my wallet. And I was like, oh, the transaction didn't fail or anything. It just was sitting there in limbo waiting for the fees to go down. It's such a crazy thing. I had no idea.
Okay, so Bitcoin has inscriptions, right? There is ethscriptions.com. And so I literally took my Bored Ape because gas fees were so low, and I inscribed my Bored Ape onto Ethereum using these descriptions.
You have to show me that. It looks fun.
It literally takes the code, it puts the code into a block on Ethereum, And so you have
Pointing
it
at like
permanently,
your image.
like your image is permanently there in code.
That's kind of
And
fun.
I know, right? I was like, dude, I'm like, okay, you're inscribing things on Bitcoin. I'm inscribing things on ETH.
That's fun. By the way, I failed to mention, we wanted to do some stuff on we talked about Etherlink before, and you just reminded me. And we got to end this because we're hitting an hour in a second. We got to jump to another thing. But, I really wanted to be the top dog of Etherlink, but it looks like the guys at etherlink.ventures beat us out on it. So
Bummer.
what are you going to do? Total bummer. Etherlink.ventures. Somebody got it. Total assholes. I think it's the same people who stole xtz.ventures also from me, and eth.ventures.
Well, at least
also.
we got a good .eth recently.
Yeah, we got DGB.eth. I'm Kevin is asking .vc. I'm joking, Kevin. I got etherlink.ventures and .vc, and I own xtz.ventures and I own eth.ventures. So bam. What's fun is just a quick. So how Tim has been telling his story about like Bitcoin VC fund, how he's been talking for years about, I want a Bitcoin denominated fund. I want everyone to pay their employees in Bitcoin. I want everything Bitcoin denominated, whatever. Before he ever told me that, we were in a meeting and he gave me that spiel, and I was like, that I own the domain name. I forgot what it is now because it was too long, and I don't know if I'm sure I renewed it, but I own the domain name like the bitcoinventurefund.com or something like that. And I was like, you're talking to the dude that owns the bitcoinventurefund.com. And that was an awesome moment of two nerds going, man, we're on the same page here.
SaaS. We're gonna be talking
yes.
SaaS. Only talking
SaaS.
SaaS.
Kevin, I could sell you etherlink.ventures for a pretty penny. You want to do a trade? Never sell. I never sell anything. All right, guys. DGB.vc. We got some episodes coming up with this where we're going to take it a lot more seriously. Make sure you follow us everywhere, because although we're doing every Tuesday at 10 a.m., we will also be doing some special editions at different times. And then also pay attention. Go follow Kevin and I. Also, we're going to talk Etherlink soon.
If you got a really good pitch deck, let's hang out and let's look at it.
Yeah, go to dgb.vc, send it to us, talk to us, reach out to us. We want to hang with you. Bye, everyone. Talk to you soon. Peace.